Hey, it's Sammy Ray. So this is a follow-up to my synastry video. Now, I told y'all we was going to talk about planets, right? All right. So let's just dive in. We're going to talk about certain planets that are important when it comes to looking at relationships between two different people. I truly believe nothing, is a deal breaker. If you're both, how should I put it? If you are both in a place where you are your higher selves and you know that, hey, this person pisses me off this way and this person pisses me off that way, and you know, okay, we talked about it, this is the solution to it. If you can work things out, and it's only little slight communications. Now, notice I didn't say if it was toxic, okay? But I think if it is slight things that are wrong, you can always work it out. If you love each other enough and you want to make it work, and if it's not something that is just, if it's something that doesn't grow, leave it alone, okay? But if it's something that I can grow with this person, I say go for it. Nothing's a deal breaker planet-wise, in my opinion. Difficult, yes, but not a deal breaker. So let me start with the moon, okay? The moon is your inner world, okay? It's your emotions, it's your soul, okay? So a lot of people think it's important to look at sun compatibility, and it is, but I would, in my opinion, not so much as the moon compatibility. So your moon, again, if you're gonna give something to someone in a relationship, hopefully it's emotions, that's how you start intimacy. So if you have, let's say, which I've had this matchup before, my moon is in Cancer, okay? So if I'm trying to date an Aquarius moon, it's a little tricky, even though my sun is in Libra, so it kind of balances out, but we wouldn't understand each other's emotional nature. However, again, you have to look at house placement. Let's say this person who had Aquarius moon, their house sat in the 4th house, which is a Cancerian house. Oh, of course, they might be able to understand the Cancer moon a little more, okay? Same thing whereas if the Cancer moon was in an air house, they would then be compatible. So you have to look at the sign placement in the house. So moon is emotions, inner world. Got it? Venus is your love language, okay? In a man's chart, in a heterosexual relationship, in a man's chart, it's basically what they want out of a part, like how they see a woman, like what they're attracted to in a woman, okay? In a woman's chart, it is basically like her demeanor, her femininity, okay? It's how she manifests her femininity. Now, same-sex relationship, it would be basically what you're attracted to. Like the Venus would be, okay, this is what you're attracted to in a woman. So Mars is the boyfriend of the chart, I call it, okay? In a heterosexual relationship with a woman, her Mars would be like that first attraction to a man, okay? Like it's that, there's something about him, that first thing she sees, right? And so that's what she would kind of be attracted to. And it doesn't have to necessarily be that sign. It could be the embodiment of that sign, the personality of that sign. For example, I haven't dated many Libra mans, but I have Libra Mars. And so the definition of that is, I like romance. I like, intellectual conversation, that kind of thing. So looking at it, I do like those things. I just not really attracted to Libra man most of the time. But someone who embodies a little bit of that, I would be attracted to. Now, Mars in a man's chart is ambition. Basically Mars is your drive, period, in your chart. But in a man's chart, it'd be ambition, how you get angry in your sexual drive. Okay. So it'd be kind of like, what's the word for it? It's his swagger, okay? I'm keeping PG. It's his swagger, okay? So we want to look at Mars and where that's sitting in the chart and how it's reacting to things. Mars is very fiery. Is it hitting, certain things, where it's blowing it up? Like, for example, if we have Mars square Venus, that could mean a very fiery connection where you're very attracted to each other at first, and then you're ripping each other's heads off. Okay. So you want to see where Mars is placed carefully. Or another example, Mars square Mercury. That's fights. Because Mercury's communication, remember? And if you have Mars sitting there and they're, opposing or squaring. Opposing, it can be tricky with, because sometimes it's just, you have good things and bad days. Good days and bad days with opposing. But squaring, let's say you have, Mars square Mercury, you're going to be talking crap to each other half the time. So gotta look at Mars. What's another one? When we're looking for marriage, you want to look at, we have Jupiter, which is the husband of the chart. Oh, let me go back. Mars in a relationship with a man, of course, it would be, what they're attracted to in that man. Now, Jupiter's the husband, okay? The husband of the chart. And it also, it's a planet of growth and expansion. Wherever that's sitting in your chart is wherever you're going to have good luck, okay? It grows that part of your chart. So it's a little tricky because, depending on what it is, Jupiter gives a gift wherever it is. But if it's sitting in a malefic house, you may still have those things, bad things happen to you, but it would like shield you in some way. But we'll talk about that when we get to Jupiter. But Jupiter, and when it comes to relationships, is the husband of the chart. So you want to look at the house placement, of course, and the sign. And that would be the embodiment of what your husband would be like. For example, I have Jupiter in my 11th house. I have lots of 11th house, which is Aquarian themes in my life. I'm never going to get rid of them. But my Jupiter is in Cancer. So there's a watery, airy vibe that I would get from a husband. Like, they would be not only nurturing, but also Aquarian in a way, like to where there's a slight detachment there, because it's, 11th house things. They might be a person who's involved in the community somehow, or they do something that helps the collective, or they're very innovative, eclectic, and do unexpected things, okay? Aquarian things. But that's not the only Aquarian things I have in my chart, but we'll talk about my chart later. But yeah, that's an example for Jupiter. Now, when we look for a man, you want to look at the asteroid Juno, okay? Juno is the wife. And wherever she sits in the chart, so Juno is maybe not what you want, but what you need. Like, what you need to grow. Like, you hear people say all the time, and I don't know if this is true or not, but you hear people say, well, a man never marries the woman that he really loves. I don't know if that's true or not, but if you look at it in the chart, Venus is like what he would be attracted to, right? Juno is what he needs, okay? And then we can look at Lilith. Not a lot of astrologers talk about a Lilith, and I talk about it because it affects my chart specifically. But when you're looking at Lilith, if it's in close conjunction, so Lilith is an asteroid, but if it's in close conjunction, I'm talking 1 to 2 degrees, like no greater than that. If it's in close aspect, it has an effect, okay? And Lilith brings out a sexual nature or even sexual fears wherever it's sitting. So, for example, let's say we're doing overlays, right? And you have Lilith sitting on top of, like, you're the female, right? And you have Lilith sitting on top of a man's Mars. It kind of emasculates him. So you have to look at the whole chart. There's so many pieces, you know, and then you have to just interpret it. But I just wanted to touch on those things. And before I forget, let me just go ahead and say Mercury. Mercury, I feel like is important when it comes to relationships, because that's communication. Like if you, for example, I've been in a lot of situations where my Mercury was in conjunct, which means like adjacent to someone else's Mercury or another planet, and I just couldn't communicate that. Like it was just like a glass barrier between us. For example, so the thing is, aspects are a conversation that you're having, like two planets are having with each other, right? Now, picture, this is what I'm explaining in conjunction. So picture you're all around a straight table, right? Not a round table, but a straight table. And you're Mercury, right? And you really want to talk to Venus. Venus is over here and she's looking fine. She's like, oh, dying peace, okay? But you have freaking Mars and Saturn and Pluto all right beside her, right? Well, let's add one more, Neptune, because that's, 5 planets, which is and in conjunction. So you have all these people between you, like you can't really, that it would just be rude to like reach over and be like, yo, Venus, I think you're cute. So she would be like, huh? Okay, that's what it would be like if your Mercuries were in conjunct. You wouldn't be able to communicate properly. You would just be misinterpreting what the other person said all the time. You would be like, I'm not really feeling this person, because you wouldn't be able to intellectually interact with each other. So I hope I didn't ramble too much. I know I'm a little scattered, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of love planets in synastry and in the composite chart. They both matter in each. And of course, 2 of those were asteroids. So if you have any questions about them, you can leave them below. And yeah, have a good one. Bye.